Ciao, hello, hi, and it's me, Jake Smalley, on my own today, doing the match reaction for you for Inter's Sunday afternoon game with Torino. Please don't forget to like the video, comment, subscribe, turn notifications on to hear more from us. I'll do my best on my own for today, and here's my reaction to Inter's game with Torino. Definitely a cagey first off worth of action. Neither side really doing enough to get in front. Torino having the best chance of the half. Free header from Lianco at the back post from a set piece that he probably should have done better with, hitting the post with Handanovic seemingly beaten. Very much half a dozen of one, 6 of the other. I think looking at some of Inter's players, there's a certain degree of tiredness about them. They've played a lot of high-intensity games in this period, and that first half definitely showed that they were starting to tire a little bit. There's nothing to be taken away from Torino. They're a team that know that every single game as it goes by is one that they need to be winning, because they've got survival to think about, and God forbid they go down to Serie B. There's a club that should definitely be top flight one, you'd imagine, based on size. So yeah, I think first off wise, not a lot in it. Both teams giving it a little bit of a scrap, and Inter could probably find themselves quite lucky not to be behind at half time through that header from Lianco. So yeah, based on the first off, not a lot in it at all when it came to the halfway point of the game. Not nice for the heart rate watching that team. It is not nice for the heart rate, but 3 massive points courtesy of a brilliant goal from Lautaro Martinez, a superb header after a brilliant cross from Alexis Sanchez. Just as it looks as if the game was totally petering out into a meaningless draw. It was really frustrating watch that second half. Lethargic, lacking in tempo, lacking ideas. Even Eriksson coming on didn't really help that too much. He tried to get on the ball, tried to create a few things, but ultimately it was petering out into what would have been a really disappointing result for Inter. The penalty sort of came out of nothing. Definitely a penalty, in my book anyway. Then Lukaku giving into the lead. And then a soft equaliser being let in, possibly a foul or 2 in there. Skriniar looked like he got a little bit of a push. But, those decisions go for and against you throughout the season, so they sort of even themselves out. But a real moment of brilliance from Lautaro Martinez and Alexis Sanchez. That cross right on the Argentine's head, and a superb header. Massive goal. Arguably the most important goal that Lautaro scored this season. And a crucial win. It just looks at the moment as if the players are tiring, but they're pulling those results out. And to me, that's a sign of potential champions, dare I say it. But yeah, excellent to get those 3 points. Not the most vintage performance, definitely not the best performance we've seen from the side this season. But ultimately, what's important is getting points on the board, and the pressure now is on Milan, who play Napoli later on. So, well played Inter, good performance in terms of getting the result. But again, it proves to us a little bit that those fringe players are not ultimately good enough. That's something to keep a note of in time for next season. Likes of Gagliardini, poor again. Ashley Young come on, no impact. So that's something we need to think about in the future. But as for today, just wanted to draw the 3 points, and let's look forward to the next game. Top is going to be Lautaro Martinez for me. I think as much as it wasn't his best game in Inter colours, he won the penalty to put Inter 1-0 up, and he scored a magnificent header to win the game for Inter. Absolutely vital goal. So an excellent performance from him in terms of his output. 2 key moments he was there for, and that header could be absolutely vital. Even if it's just for mentality purposes, to give the team that bit of a boost in what looked like a game that was going to come away from them, and definitely didn't look like, from watching the pattern of play, that they were going to turn that around and win it. So for me, Lautaro Martinez gets the top just for that piece of decisiveness that's ended up winning into what was a really ragged game, in all honesty. Flop's a tricky one. I was inclined to say the referee. I thought the referee had a poor game. He was giving free kicks. Even for both teams, he was quite poor. He was giving a few silly free kicks here and there. He seemed to have a 15-minute spell at the start of the second half where everything that Inter did, he was blowing up for. So If we're linking it more towards Inter, I think Gagliardini was terrible. Again, but it's old news, it's boring. He's just not good enough to play for this team. Bologna, Benevento, Udinese, Genoa, get him there next season because he's just not good enough. And that is the ultimate overall sort of flop for me. Those sort of fringe players that Conte is relying on are just not good enough. The players don't bring the same quality. You know, Brozovic, Barella, Eriksson, even Vidal to an extent are Inter's strongest midfielders. As soon as you start playing Gagliardini, you lose something. As soon as you play Young, you lose a little bit of something. Although Perisic, again, for me, was really poor. He seems to have had his 2 standard good games this season reverted back to type. So it's just a reminder today that there's 6-7 players at the club that need getting rid of in the summer. And although Conte lobbied for better sort of reserve players in the summer, he hasn't really got any. So, yeah, flop for me is those sort of fringe players, particularly Gagliardini today.